Well, welcome guys, thanks for checking this out. So you're here to find out what GDMEU drive board do you actually want to go and purchase for yourself for your Sega Dreamcast. Now there are quite a lot of options out there for us, so hopefully by the end of this video you may actually have a better understanding of what one you should actually go for yourself and why you should actually purchase one anyway. If you haven't met before, I'm Jay from retrogaming.co.uk. I also cover some content regarding new gaming goods for older gaming consoles and do a couple of recommends, tips, hacks and a lot of other content. So let's jump into why you should actually pick one up yourself. I've actually had one now for a couple of months and I've been absolutely loving it to bits. I am a collector as well, so I do like to preserve the actual games, so that is why I kind of purchased that, so I don't actually damage any of the discs or even the cases, because they have a bit of a nightmare of breaking. And another reason why is because I want to try and get my hands on those downloadable games from the fan translated. There's a fair few new ones out there that I've been trying to test out and they're pretty awesome. Another big reason that you may have already know if you're looking at other videos on my channel is those Optimus Wave games. You can only download them at the moment, so it is pretty awesome, and also access a lot more library, especially because it is region free as well. Now the one that I purchased a couple of months ago, it surprised me a lot. It's so easy to install, and the actual software on the PC just to add games on was so simple. And also the community as well has been pretty awesome, giving you the option to actually customize and add a new menu to it to actually give you that more personal touch. Now what I know of at the moment on the market and what I see online, there's about 4 main models of this GDMEU to actually install in the Dreamcast. The very first one was the original one that got released a fair few years ago, I believe, and that can fetch for a fair few £100. So now people are kind of avoiding it, but when you actually bought that originally, that was pretty awesome because you could actually get the updates for that board. So a lot of people could actually just go on the website and just do that pretty easily. But now with these clone systems a lot popular, you can actually upgrade that because it's a clone system. So now we got the first model out of the way. The ones that I see quite a lot online is the version 5.5. Now that doesn't have a metal shielding around the SD slot, and that is an older version of what the original GDMU had. And then later on you do have the 5.15. A lot of people do get confused because some people think it's the 5.1.5, but then you that actually is the 5.15, which is a later model of the 5.5, and you'll see a lot more of them actually have metal shielding around the SD slot. So a couple of people do prefer that, and it does have the later firmware installed in that board. Now one that has kind of recently creeped up is this GDEMU Pro. And I kind of looked into it a bit. The design does look pretty awesome, but I think that is what they just want. They just got that eye candy to get people to buy their version. And there's no such thing really as a 5. There is no 5-point version on it. It just says GDEMU. And what I know of, there hasn't been any specific updates or any benefits to the unit. They're probably just using a 5.5 or even a 5.15 version that is more common, and they just kind of just designed it. And then they also included some heat sinks that you kind of just put on like processors, like on the Raspberry Pi or something like that, just to cool it down. But I confirm you now, these boards don't actually get hot at all. They look pretty cool, I guess. They kind of stand out, but there's no actual use for them that I know of at the moment. It kind of may help out if you actually Dreamcast gets overall hot, if you haven't installed any of the new fans or the actual Dream PSU to actually can change that power unit. But to be honest, you don't really need those heat sinks. So the one that I've actually got featured at the Right Sprite Retro store is the 5.15. So that actually has the later firmware on these boards. It's got the metal shielding around the SD card slot, so that's pretty nice. So I got that in store at the moment. It also includes those heat sinks, but that was just because the seller was including them. But when you purchase them, you actually get them as well if you fancy just stick them on. Also included is an extendable SD slot. So basically, as I show you here, this is how I set it up. So I've got the actual GDMU board installed. If you want to learn how to do that yourself first, I will put that up there for you now, and also in the description of how to actually install that board itself. And then to actually get that board, actual extension cable, I just fed it through the back and it seems to be a lot easier job. Instead of lifting up the lid, there's also another option out there for you guys, which a lot of people's been selling 3D printed SD card slot bays just to hold the actual card a bit better, and then just kind of make the cooling system a bit better as well. But to be honest, the way I've been doing it is kind of more cheap, affordable way, and I've actually seen no problems. Some other great features about the GDMU that I really been enjoying is the fact that some games that don't feature the 480p VGA mode, because there's only about a handful of games that you cannot use the VGA cable to get that best video output. So for instance, with Sydney 2000, you won't be able to use the VGA cable. With this, you can actually force some titles to actually come out with the VGA. So with my setup then, I've got the VGA going into my OSSC, into the HDMI, and that seems to be working absolutely awesome. Now there are a couple of titles that I do struggle with, depending on what your setup is. For instance, there are a couple of games that have a 240p output, and I think that's a King of Fighters game and that Bangaya O. So that is a bit fiddly, but for instance, if you have an OSSC converter, I've also covered a video on that product, which has been absolutely awesome. You can actually upscale that image and have a 480p, so then that actually works on my 4K TV. So that is why I've been thinking that the GDMU is awesome. Oh, one thing I did forget to actually mention about that GDEMU Pro is that it states that it's 512 gigabytes. Well, it can accept 512 gigabyte SD cards. For me personally, I've been using a 128 gigabyte card, and yeah, that's just basically overkill. I've got so many titles on there they've been trying out, and some people have been claiming they'd be using a 256 gigabyte, and I think that is even more so overkill. But for me, the 128 SanDisk card has been absolutely awesome, so there's been no compatibility issues using those SanDisk cards. So hopefully now at this end of this video that you got a better understanding of what models are out there. I'll also include the purchase link to the one in the Right Sprite web store in the description below. If you like this video, hit that button. If you want to support, click subscribe, leave your comments below, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.